Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This government has failed to deliver a plan for BC's future. The NDP delivered a budget which, quite frankly, is just devastating for the people in this province. It's hard to imagine people struggling today with affordability are now going to be facing a 20% increase in the carbon tax in April 1. 20% increase. That's not just for the individual struggling, that's for all businesses. This government hikes taxes, they're wasting money, and they're leaving British Columbians with nothing but debt. To the Premier, through you, Mr. Speaker, will this government halt the 20% increase on the carbon tax? I know they won't eliminate it because they don't have the courage for that, but will they at least halt this carbon tax increase so that we can give the people in the province the break that they need?
Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the member opposite knows, the federal government introduced a national carbon tax in 2019 and sets the carbon tax rate. We've said it before. If Ottawa removes their requirement for the carbon tax, we will remove carbon tax on British Columbians while ensuring that big polluters pay. The member forgets to mention, of course, that this is a federally required government carbon tax. And the money that comes in from the carbon tax is, in fact, dispersed, all of it dispersed to British Columbians.
Leader of the Official Opposition, supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, that shows the backbone that this government does not have in taking the right steps to protect British Columbians and put money in their pocket, just like their promise of a $1,000 rebate immediately for people in this province that are struggling to put food on the table, and that it would be permanent in the budget. Permanent to have that kind of a tax relief. And yet they refuse to stand up on things like carbon tax. So let me maybe ask this question then of the Premier. You've accepted the idea of a carbon tax on thermal coal coming from the US. You've dealt with the carbon tax problem on the biodiesel so that we can protect the jobs up in the north. You say you're going to do that. So will this Premier, through you, Mr. Speaker, today call the bill that I just introduced, the Free Trade and Mobility Act in Canada, to make sure that we bring down our barriers in this province with other provinces so that we get free trade happening in this country?
Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, the member opposite knows that part of our response to these unjustified tariffs is to work diligently on bringing down the barriers between our provinces. Minister of Jobs, Economic Development and Innovation has been doing this work. We've already identified 2 things that we're removing our exemptions. We're going to continue this important work because, Honourable Speaker, we have opportunity to grow our economy not only in looking at diversifying trade to the east, but diversifying trade to the west, and that work is going on.
Leader of the Official Opposition, second supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, call me a little underwhelmed, given the fact that Nova Scotia brought this bill in. It's the same bill. It's a simple reciprocal bill to bring down barriers if other provinces do. It's the right thing to do for British Columbians. Well, let me ask, Mr. Speaker, let me ask another simple question. If this trade war accelerates and the Americans stop taking our patients, what is this government's plan for dealing with the healthcare crisis that we have, for making sure that our cancer patients are going to be able to receive care if they can't be sent south of the border?
Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the question from the member opposite because he allows me the opportunity to again reiterate the importance of protecting services for British Columbians, which is what our budget does, Honourable Speaker. We are continuing to move forward
Minister.
Honourable Speaker, we are continuing to support healthcare in British Columbia. We are attaching more people than ever to primary care doctors. 600 people a day, Honourable Speaker.
You're wasting your own time. Minister will conclude.
Honourable Speaker, this budget protects healthcare for British Columbians. It adds $4.6 billion over the fiscal plan to continue to grow our healthcare system. This is things like building the hospitals that people need in places like Terrace, which just opened last month, Honourable Speaker. We will continue to support British Columbians to make sure that they have access to healthcare when they need it and where they need it, Honourable Speaker, not selling off hospital lands as the member opposite did.
Member for Abbotsford South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. You know, this government has failed to deliver on critical infrastructure projects either on time or on budget again and again and again. Highway 1 is BC's #1 highway, and it's the most important trade corridor in the Fraser Valley, if not in British Columbia. In spite of a budget, and talking about it in the budget, this government announced $0 new to upgrade Highway #1. This Premier is inept at getting things built. Current infrastructure projects are $15 billion over budget and way past their deadlines. Mr. Speaker, through to the Premier, can this Premier please explain to truckers and the public why he has failed to build anything on time or on budget?
Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, this budget commits more capital than ever before. $15 billion each year over the fiscal plan is more than $45 billion for capital projects. $45 billion. It's about building British Columbia. This budget is so focused on that, Honourable Speaker, and creating 180,000 jobs while we do it, Honourable Speaker. This critical infrastructure is important to the truckers that were mentioned opposite. Honourable Speaker, we know that having investments in infrastructure, in bridges and in highways is crucial not only to getting people where they need to go, but to keeping our supply chain moving. It's important to businesses as well, Honourable Speaker.
Member supplemental.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. You know, in spite of all the flowery words, this government has failed to cultivate our agricultural industry. In 2024, we saw over 7,000 farm workers lose their jobs, and then the NDP cut the agricultural ministry by $86 million in this budget. We Conservatives promised to double agriculture production, but this Premier wants to cut ag production in half. The Premier talks a big game about the importance of food security, but that's all it is talk. What is his solution to cut the agricultural budget, and how can the agricultural minister justify cuts to her budget at such a crucial time when we are threatened with USA tariffs?
Minister of Finance.
Well, it seems appropriate that this member is asking about agriculture. He can't resist shoveling manure, Honourable Speaker. Let me be very clear. Member, let me be very clear. Let's see if you can take this in. There is no cut to the Ministry of Food and Agriculture budget, Honourable Speaker. Not true. Not true.
Members,
Oh, believe me, I know the budget. Honourable Speaker, there is...
Member.
Honourable Speaker, there was close to $100 million the prior year that had been accessed by the people in agriculture which was available to them because of challenges that they had due to climate change, Honourable Speaker. That would be available to them again should they need it. That is not a $100 million cut to agriculture, Honourable Speaker. In fact, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture budget is increased in this budget from $130 million to $143 million. May I also add that the 2024-25 forecast includes an additional one-time amount of $99 million for insurance claims should they be needed.